It's the SKOR North Twin Show.
Gentlemen, we are less than a month away from spring training. We've got some resolution. There's your hot stove sounder. Still.
We got report dates. Report dates came out.
Do you have them in front of you right now?
Let's see here. I think I saw Bobby Nightingale tweet them out yesterday from the Star Tribune.
It's usually before Valentine's Day that pitchers and catchers show up.
Pitchers
right?
and catchers report on the Day of Love, February 14th. Full squad, February 18th.
Okay.
So, wow. So today is January 18th. So we are 1 month away exactly from full squad, and then we're less than a month from pitchers and catchers. Twins could still use another pitcher. They could stand to make a trade or two. But let's do three things on the show here. Let's start with just an update on the TV situation. We have some resolution. We have like 50% resolution, but then there's another shoe to drop. We'll keep counting down our top 25 Twins of all time. I've got 20 through 16 for you guys, and then we'll do a random Twin of the week. If you haven't already, please click the like and the subscribe button on the SKOR North YouTube channel. And if you gave us a 5-star rating and a positive review on the SKOR North Twin Show Apple podcast feed, you can help us keep growing this show that we brought back for the second half of the season last year. So the biggest news on the TV front, and this is we think this is what has been holding the Twins back from just doing anything this offseason, that they have a $55 million revenue chunk that they don't know if it's coming back, if part of it's coming back, as their local TV situation is sort of in limbo here with Bally's and Diamond Sports Group. And so yesterday, news came out that Amazon purchased a minority stake in Diamond Sports Group, which owns all the regional sports networks that Bally's has their naming rights on. I think it's like a $115 or $120 million minority revenue stream. So this kind of breathes life back into Diamond Sports Group and what they may do from a streaming standpoint. What we don't know is, will games be available on Amazon Prime? Will the Twins strike a 1-year deal with Diamond Sports Group? How much money will that be worth?
Right.
So we're still trying to figure all this stuff out, but I will just say this. I love the idea of, and this includes too, Lynx and Timberwolves and Wild, right? Because they're all part of this Diamond Sports Group. I love the idea of local teams' games being available on Amazon Prime, because we won't have to worry about some rinky-dink company with no tech people going bankrupt. Your login doesn't work. Or it's like last night, I'm watching that Wolves-Pistons game, and it just error, streaming error, and it just logs out, right? So let's just get an adult in the room here, Amazon, and let's stream games the way that they should be streamed.
So the only difference here is that, like with teams, believe it or not, the Rangers are in the same boat financially. Like, they've done nothing, and they're expected to possibly, have a couple of big signings. The difference is, while their rights are owned by Diamond, the Rangers' contract is not up. So the Twins, if they do this right, are in control at least. Like they can go elsewhere. They could go to baseball and say, let's stream things. If these guys can't do it, we'll stream it. But yes, I think that this is a good first step. Now, I don't know if this completely takes you out of bankruptcy. My guess is the bankruptcy court is going to have to approve this, because they probably have control to approve this. But I mean, I think we all know the Twins are not going to recoup what they've lost financially. The question is, how much can they get? And is this going to be a 1-year thing? And I sent some texts out yesterday and didn't get a response. But my other question is, if the Twins go back for a year, can they then control the blackout rights, which means end them, because that's the thing, right? So if they can end the blackout rights, I think that's a huge step, because now everyone can watch games. But Twins Fest is next weekend, and I would think at some point very soon that this has to get resolved as far as what they do. And I do think at the end of the day, the Twins probably take a 1-year, financially probably far less contract from Diamond. They go back to Bally's, but then if they can get their games streamed and end all of these just silly, archaic blackout rules, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I'm for one place, and a good place that has done a really good job at broadcasting stuff like Prime has. And look, I get it. People are pissed off about Peacock getting an exclusive playoff game. Guys, welcome to streaming. Welcome to TV evolving in 2024. You want to pay $150 for cable, and then channels are backing out on those contracts and whatnot. Too damn bad. Like this is the way everything is probably going. And Prime has done a really good job with Thursday Night Football. And we all have a lot of streaming devices, and we all have a lot of subscriptions. If it's in one good spot and a production company that has done a really good job, like they have with Thursday Night Football, I'm for Prime getting this, and I am for paying a $20 whatever fee it's going to be for a well-run product. I do not pay for that Bally Sports Extra because it's trash. I will watch my games with the means I'm able to watch my games, but I cannot pay the $20 that it's currently set up, and I like what Amazon has done with sports so far.
Well, and that $20 didn't even get you Twins games. That's where, I mean, maybe I just like didn't read the fine print, but I remember when that became available, and I was like, oh, this is great. So, and I think I started my subscription during winter sports season, so I get to watch at the time Wolves games, Wild games, and then the first Twins game of the season is ready to rock and roll, and I flip on the Bally's app, and my wife and I are ready. Here we go. All right, Twins baseball. Let's get this. Here we go. Little Tim Laudner pregame show. Let's tell me what I need to know, right? And I'm like, am I missing something? I'm going through the menu, and so the fact that everything is like baseball has made it for so long so hard to watch games, and of course people are going to say, well, just get cable. Okay, well, in a world where in all forms of content, in a world where no longer do companies and entities get to just control distribution, right? If you want to listen to a podcast, it's available on Apple, Spotify, someone's website, whatever it may be, unless you're Joe Rogan and you think, or Howard Stern, and you are such a big entity and you are so dominant in your field that people will literally pay $10 a month for SiriusXM just for the exclusive rights, basically pay-per-view, to hear and listen to Howard Stern and Joe Rogan with Spotify, right? Baseball's not that. Now, the NFL, I think, at some point could be, but why would you want to cut off free distribution to your fans? Why would you want to cut off people in Iowa? Why would you want to cut off people with YouTube TV? And I know the Twins don't want to, but this is a Major League Baseball issue that has just been lingering for a long time. And maybe through this, maybe you wind up with, Diamond Sports Group has 18 regional networks out of the 30 different teams. And there might even be a couple of those regional networks with multiple teams. So call it like 20 teams represented by Diamond Sports Group. If 2/3 of the league is just easily available on Amazon Prime, to me, that's a big step forward.
Yeah. And baseball, ultimately here, baseball needs to get its act together as a whole. Like it needs to be, we need to stop. And I get that each team makes a ton, or potentially does, but we need to stop with this, well, we've got this deal and the league needs to figure out a way to centralize distribution so everyone's on the same page. And those blackout rules were put in years ago. They're not for today. This whole thing of, 5 teams in Iowa can't watch them. That's the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah.
And baseball knows that. So like this is a bigger picture discussion about how you get your product into 2024, because baseball is still thoroughly operating, I think, in 1996.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. I mean, but I guess what I'm saying too is it would be great if you don't, like what baseball has done for however long now is, unless you're a DirecTV or Comcast subscriber, you don't get to watch the games, right? Like that's period. If you're YouTube TV, if you're Hulu TV, Sling TV, right? All of these networks or these digital aggregators of cable channels did not reach deals with Diamond Sports Group for the last 3 or 4 years.
It's expensive. Like it's going to be expensive. Like that's the one thing is, if you're a consumer and want to watch sports, I'm sorry, it's going to cost you. I mean, I pay an ungodly amount to watch sports, but it's what I want to do. Yeah.
And I think at some point too, if you can get, let's say for sports, like if you can watch ESPN over here and you can watch, you got Prime for your local baseball, basketball, hockey, and you've got the ESPN app over here, and you've got an NFL app if you want like to get Red Zone channel, for instance. Mm-hmm. I can't decide if we're moving away from the aggregated like cable and YouTube TV into just 6 or 7 different a la cartes. Yep. Or if at some point all of it's just going to be made available in the same aggregated space and the cost is just going to be higher. So that's something to keep an eye on too. But it's basically, we're kind of going to, you got Netflix, you got Hulu, you got Amazon Prime, you got Max, right? HBO Max and all those shows. And you got your sports, you got your ESPN. And you've made a good point too, that it is kind of a pain in the ass to like toggle between the different apps if you want to flip around to a couple different things.
I feel like we're right now, it's sort of like when cable started. Like, I don't think what we're doing now is anywhere near what we'll be doing in 3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of crude. Like, you got to go to this app and then you got to go to that app. But then now I want to go to my cable, or now I want to go to my YouTube TV. So it feels to me like we are sports, but just the whole thing. We're sort of at the forefront of where this eventually is going to go. And we're not even close there yet. Smarter people are going to come along and figure out a far better system than this. But there's no question, streaming and that whole thing with where it's not networks is definitely part of what we're going to be doing.
I mean, I love, like, I have HBO Max, and I love that Max has the new deal with TNT. Like, I can watch the NBA game of the night, and I can watch when the Wild are on TNT through Max, which is great. And I'm totally down to up that, subscription on Amazon Prime, which is, I think, $15 a month for Amazon Prime, or it's like, $11 if you do the yearly package per month. But I just want a well-run product, and I want them all in the same place. And I think Prime is probably a good place to start with that.
Yep. So, and then of course, wherever they're going to be available, hopefully Amazon Prime and the Twins games in 2024, will them finalizing their plans then lead to like a late January or early February run of bringing in like 3 different players in free agency or a contract and a trade? Or are they just going to go into the season with a drastically slashed payroll, which I don't think would be, as Judd has been saying, the ideal play after you, just broke a 20-year playoff win-losing streak. So we'll see. I'd love to continue the top 25 Twins of all time here. See what you guys think of the next chunk of the list. So we're doing chunks of 5 of these, counting down from 25 to 1 every single week. To recap from last week, 25 was Brad Radke, 24 was Earl Batty, 23 was Jim Perry, 22 Greg Gagne, one of the great shortstops defensively in Twins history, and then 21 was Cesar Tovar, the ultimate jack-of-all-trades utility player. And I have 20 through 16 for you guys today.
All right.
Can I play a bed music that you guys probably haven't heard in a while for this?
Sure, let's do it.
You guys recognize
is this from the
bed music?
opening bell?
This is the opening bell bed.
Wow.
No.
How do we feel about this?
The old
Turn it off.
PTSD.
Turn it off.
Turn it down.
Turn it down. I'm starting to sweat.
What if we
No
played
good baseball bed. Like, we have good one for NFL and hockey and for NHL TNT.
You got
But like, we
TBS,
don't
right?
have
Oh no,
a good
we used to have
baseball
one.
one.
You know what it is? Search. You're in Zeta, right? This is on-air production here. Search the major league theme song from the movie. It's like a 3.5-minute bed. It's a little hot out of the gate, but
Let's see here. Let's see what's
it's like
here.
do.
Yeah. All right.
There you go.
There it is.
That's it right there.
Huh?
Yeah.
Sounds like Nightcore too.
It's very 80s.
Starts at Night Court.
Dude. It's very 80s. So these are flashbacks to our old 1500 ESPN radio show. Some good, some bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say. All right.
So okay, number 20, the 20th greatest Twin of all time, Bob Allison. 10 seasons as a starting corner outfielder, 3 years before that. So he was one of the OG Twins. And he spent 3 years with the Washington Senators, too, in the late 1950s. He was kind of like Michael Kadire, Josh Willingham before Michael Kadire and Josh Willingham.
Strong.
Is that
Home
fair to
run
say?
Guy. Yes.
Yeah, big, like not the highest batting average guy, but some pop corner outfield guy, right?
Yep.
So he had 7 seasons of at least 20 home runs with the Twins, 3rd all-time among Twins in home runs, 2-time All-Star, twice received MVP votes when he was with the Twins too. And his most famous moments came in Game 2 of the 1965 World Series, where he had a bases-loaded double against Sandy Koufax, and he had the famous backhand sort of sliding, diving catch in the corner to help the Twins to a victory in that game.
Yeah, in fact, I think the story of that catch is he had talked to like a Viking player too, and was wearing like football cleats because the field was so torn up and in such bad shape
Yeah.
that he had
wild.
cleats on, like big cleats on. And yes, that catch is a fantastic catch.
Yeah.
I think that was one of
shown
my
on a lot of the
dad's-
highlight reels.
That was one of my dad's like first favorite players. I remember like as a Twins fan, because I think we even had like a Bob Allison poster downstairs in my dad's like Sudell man cave. And I remember that one being one of the first guys he gravitated towards as a little kid.
Yeah. So just one of the original corner outfield masher for the Twins, Bob Allison. Okay, number 19, the Twins all-time saves leader, Joe Nathan,
Ooh.
Okay,
cracks the top 20 list.
sure.
Okay.
The most dominant regular season closer in Twins history. And I say regular season closer because obviously he had some noted struggles in the playoffs, particularly against the Yankees.
Which drops him down this list probably.
It actually does. I think
does,
if he had a more prominent postseason resume, I think he would easily be in the top 15. Now, if you look at his Twins career before his elbow blew out in 2010, I think it was spring training of 2010. Incredible run. It was a 6-year run, a 1.87 ERA, 41 saves per year over those 6 years. And he struck out 1 in every 3 batters he faced over that time period. He was in the regular season, he was Mariano Rivera good. And then, of course, in the postseason, he was Byung-Hyun Kim. Or
Shortstop in the Giants system at one point, right?
Yes.
yeah, and then he was
Converted.
He was kind of like a spot starter, I want to say, for the Giants, and the Twins just brought him in and said, "No, you're a reliever." He was part of the Francisco Liriano trade. That was a fleecing, man.
Oh, God.
AJ Przinsky goes out west. The Twins replace him with Joe Mauer,
Terry Ryan, man.
and they get Liriano. They get Nathan. Boof Bonzer
Boof
was a starter for the
on that
Twins.
trade.
That trade and the Knobloch trade were both Terry Ryan. I don't know if the Knobloch trade can be called a fleecing because he certainly contributed, but it was a hell of a trade.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, speaking of great trades, number 18 on the list is Rick Aguilera,
Yeah,
who I think is the greatest closer in Twins history based on his 1991 run, too. So second all-time behind Joe Nathan in saves among Twins relievers, 3-time All-Star. He gave up only 1 run in 7 appearances during the 1991 playoff run. He was lights out in the ALCS and the World Series. And he was acquired on the trade front. The Twins traded Frank Viola to the Mets in 1989, and Rick Aguilera came back in that trade along with starter
Tapani.
Kevin Tapani.
Yeah,
So the Twins, Frank Viola was a huge part of their 1987 World Series, one of the best pitchers in baseball. They move him to the Mets, and then they get back closer and one of their top starting pitchers for their second World Series run in 1991.
and if I'm correct about this, the biggest acquisition by the Twins in that trade was starting pitcher the late David West.
Yeah, he was in that trade.
Who actually didn't pan out nearly as well. Those old day trades were great though. Like you would literally have a commodity who like was basically telling you, I want out, and you would call a team and the team would be like, oh yeah, oh cool.
Whatever you want. Just
What
go
do you
in,
want?
just tell us what you took.
That's where that stopped, in my opinion, as far as Twins fans go, with the Johan trade.
It did. Well,
Like you got a lot back, but you didn't get, but I mean, you didn't.
I think that one was more they got quantity and they got they had other offers too. Like the Yankees were in the mix and the Red Sox, and I think the guys just didn't pan out. But they did. I mean, what's funny is Carlos Gomez eventually panned out, just not as much with the Twins.
Who was the Red Sox offer on Santana?
It was,
Outfielder.
So there was a bunch of reported like Jacoby Ellsbury.
Ellsbury was
There was like a
part of it.
Coco Crisp was in there at one point. I think John Lester was actually an option. And then Justin Masterson, I believe, was also talked about.
Justin
Remember
Masterson.
that guy.
Good guy.
Yeah, Red Sox Guardians. I wanna
Guardians.
say.
Good
Yeah.
grid guy.
Good guy.
So, and then, okay, speaking of great trades, you already sort of mentioned this. Number 17 on the all-time Twins list.
Yep.
Jack Knobloch, the old Bob Casey. Now, he's pretty much estranged from the organization. They tried to put him in the Twins Hall of Fame about 10 years ago, and then he got arrested or something. Or
Yeah, something domestic.
happened.
Yes,
Yeah.
he was not inducted but elected. If that
Yeah. So is
sense.
he in?
no,
So he's not in. Could
but
he
I mean
get
he
in
was
at some
elected.
point?
But he was, I I have not seen stories on Chuck in recent years, but there was a period there where some stories came out, and it sounded like he was having some real difficulties in life.
Yeah.
So, but
So
a hell
he's-
of a player.
Yeah, 7 years with the Twins, 1991 Rookie of the Year, 4-time All-Star, Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, MVP votes in multiple seasons. And Chuck Knobloch's 1996 season is one of the best individual performances in Twins history. So he batted .341 with a .448 on-base percentage, 62 extra base hits, 45 stolen bases, and 140 runs scored in 1996.
Early 90s to mid, the three premier second basemen, American League, Roberto Alomar, Carlos Baerga of Cleveland, and Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Those
sure.
guys were all considered like the just elite of the elite at that position.
Yep. Well, that 1996 Twins lineup too. They're like they couldn't pitch to save their lives in the mid 90s, but Kirby Puckett woke up that spring training and he was blind, and that lineup was still insane. Like you had Paul Molitor who hit like 340, didn't he, that season?
Yes.
You had Chuck Knobloch. You could have had Kirby Puckett in the middle of that lineup too.
Yeah.
Marty Cordova wasn't that the second year of Cordova he was driving in runs? So
Yeah, because he was AL Rookie of the Year in 95, right?
Yep. So Chuck Knobloch 17, and then to round out this chunk of 5 here up to 16, the Rat, Gary Gaetti.
Oh, yeah.
16th
Love this
best
one.
player in Twins history. One of the best defensive players in Twins history. Certainly one of the best defensive third basemen of his era throughout the 1980s. A 4-time Gold Glover with the Twins. He started didn't he start 2 different around the horn triple plays too in his Twins career? Or didn't he have 2 in the same game once?
Yeah. Aren't the
Boston.
Twins one of the few teams that
1990.
they turned 2 triple plays in the same game and they lost the game? I think they lost like a 1-0.
Yeah, I think it was
very Minnesota sports thing.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were identical. I think it was Gaetti, Newman, Herbeck, and one of the two, the guy who bounced into it was Tom Bernansky.
Wow. It's crazy.
It was 1990. I was at work that night watching the game. It was absolutely, I mean, you don't see one most years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the around though. Sometimes you'll see the wacky ones where like
Sure.
there's a line drive and the runners are going, but just straight up around the horn. So Gaetti has second all time among Twins in defensive wins above replacement, 200 career home runs as a Twin, MVP votes in 3 different seasons, and one of the main centerpieces of the 1987 World Series team. He mashed throughout those playoffs and helped the Twins to their first world title. So the Rat, Gary Gaetti.
G-Man was, I believe, his first game ever in the big leagues, his first at bat was against the Texas Rangers and noted knuckleballer Charlie Huff, and he homered. He also had the famous quote in '84 when the Twins were contending for the American League West title and completely folded in Cleveland. The quote was, "It's hard to play with both hands around your throat."
Yeah. So top 16 and maybe a top 5 quote in Twins history as well. So that brings us the 10 that we have unveiled are Brad Radke, Earl Batty, Jim Perry 23, Greg Gagne, Cesar Tovar 21, Bob Allison 20, Joe Nathan 19, Rick Aguilera 18, Chuck Knobloch 17, and Gary Gaetti 16. 15 players to go in our countdown.
Of those last 5, which one was the toughest not to put higher? Which one got knocked down and you were like fretting a little bit about it, do you think?
I would say I know it's weird because I have Chuck Knobloch between them, but Rick Aguilera and Gary Gaetti were probably got the strongest consideration for being in the top 15.
Fair.
But when you start to look at the top 15, man, it's
I
really
know.
tough to move some of these
Well,
guys.
and Gaetti left, so he was, I think he was declared a free agent and signed with the Angels because of the collusion and baseball clause that came out. And so he left and went to California in, I think it was 90. And so if Gary Gaetti plays his whole career here, I think it's a different story. He also had a couple of down years and then a resurgence with like the Cardinals and Royals, if I'm correct.
Yep. So he wound up, he actually played, I think, Cardinals in 96, and they took the Braves to a 7th game in must have been the NLCS. And then he was with the Cubs in the late 90s, too. He was in the playoffs with the Cubs in 1998. I remember the Cubs had like Gary Gaetti, Rod Beck, just a bunch of and Sammy Sosa, obviously, in 1998. Mark Grace. So, yeah, what a like a 2-decade career, like literally a 20-year career. He only played in the playoffs 3 different seasons. Twins in 87, Cardinals in 96, Cubs in 1998.
Wow.
Gaetti.
Yeah.
So, all right, I got a random twin of the week for you guys here, too, as we plow our way through this SKOR North Twin Show. So, all-time, Declan with 4 straight victories has a 9-8 lead over me. Judd with 7 all-time wins, so very close-knit, but Declan has been the master of random twin of the week here.
Okay.
We'll see if Judd can knock him off his pedestal. All throughout a series of clues, you guys get up to 3 strikes. You can shout out answers whenever you want. If you hit that 3rd strike, the other person wins automatically. The last handful of random twins are Matt Garza, Kent Herbeck, CJ Crone, Delman Young, Emilio Pagan, and Matthew Lecroy. Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. This random twin played in 1,309 career Major League games. In his worst season, do you have a guess?
No.
Okay.
No.
In his worst season, he batted .202 with a .265 on base percentage in 68 games. But in his best season, he clobbered 41 home runs with 114 RBI and was an all-star. Oh, Declan's got the look.
All right, I'm going to take a guess.
Oh, man, here we go.
Nelson
Let's go.
Cruz.
Oh no. Not
Josh
Nelson Cruz.
Willingham.
No.
Okay, cool.
Oh, man, you
Oh,
guys.
God, I wanted to jump you just in the event you had Nelson Cruz. I had to do it.
No, it's fine. All's fair.
I will say that he was born in the same country as one of those 2 players that you just guessed.
Oh, crap. That's a very large coverage area that you just gave us.
This random twin
Okay.
was born on December 9th, 1973.
Okay.
This random twin played 50 games with the Minnesota Twins only.
Oh.
This random twin played for... I'll give you the teams he played for.
Okay.
Twins, obviously.
Yep.
Expos, Nationals, Blue Jays, Orioles, Diamondbacks, and A's. Started his career with the Oakland A's.
No, that's not the guy.
He was an international free agent signing with the Oakland Athletics.
Tony Batista.
Tony Batista
Oh, dang it. I thought
is
this right.
correct.
Nice, Dex. Nice
That
one.
weird batting stance
Yeah,
where he was
that's a good
facing the
one.
pitcher.
Yeah, he
Great,
was
man.
awful here. He was awful.
Yep.
He was sacked, right?
Oh,
For
man.
Punto?
The next clue was going to be the Twins got much better when they replaced him with somebody else. They literally took off in 2006. And
That's the year that they started with Batista at third, and who was at short, and they
Juan
replaced
Castro.
him, and they replaced them both.
Yeah. And it turned into the Piranhas, and they exploded after that. So, dude, Declan is red hot.
He's red hot.
In
He's
Random
on
Twin of the Week,
fire.
man. You can't
He's on
stop
fire.
Dex. He's got 10
to see.
wins. I've got 8. Judd has 7. So,
Oh,
Tony
man.
Batista,
Very upset.
he actually went to Japan to revive his career.
That's right.
And he kind of did. He hit some home runs, but still, like, he had like a 280 on base percentage in Japan.
That's
The
right.
Twins are like, bring him on in. Let's see what he can do. And then it turns out that Nick Punto playing third base was the best option. He was excellent. He was
He was really good that
the
year.
best fielding third baseman. He batted like 300. It was great.
Terry loved to go to the the goodwill of baseball, though, man.
He
He'd
did.
go to he'd pick up every piece of discarded, Otis Nixon,
Oh man,
Roberto Kelly,
yeah.
Tony Batista,
Brent
Juan.
Gates.
Yeah, he'd be like, let's pick
Boone.
up one of those.
Brett
Brett
Boone.
Boone. Oh yeah.
Mike Lamb, Joe Creedy. Did we say Joe Creedy?
Mike
So
Lamb.
many of those.
Yeah, with a terrible back.
Oh, he had a bunch. He had like 16 bombs in the
Yeah.
time that he was healthy, but
was fine.
he was a good
His
hitter when he
back
was
was
healthy.
a mess.
So, all right, boys, that's a SKOR North Twin
Nice.
show here. Please, like we said, please give us a 5-star rating and a positive review to help us keep growing this podcast. And we'll see you guys next week. For Joe Mauer